I'm Zibby Owens, and you're listening to the award-winning podcast, Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books. Please sign up for my newsletter at zibbyowens.com for updates on podcast guests and lots of live events. Hi, everybody. I'm thrilled to be partnering with Start Small, Think Big. You need to know about them. They help under-resourced entrepreneurs gain access to critical services they need to build sustainable small businesses that generate real wealth for themselves, their families, and their communities. They do this by engaging with a top-tier network of professional volunteers who provide free and high-quality legal, financial, and marketing support. Last year alone, their volunteer network provided 1,300 small businesses with pro bono support valued at $14+ million. 95% of Start Small's businesses are women, minority, or under-resourced entrepreneurs. No other nonprofit organization in the country provides this kind of comprehensive support to the population. Start Small, Think Big has developed a page on their website called Shop Our Businesses. And this page features some of the businesses that they're supporting who are currently doing business online and need help now more than ever to support their businesses. So go to startsmallthinkbig.org and help out. I'm here today with Alli Frank and Asha Youmans, who are the debut co-authors of Tiny Imperfections, a novel. Alli has worked in education for 20-plus years in San Francisco and Seattle in both public and private schools as a teacher, college counselor, coach, and assistant head. She's the co-founder of the International Friends School, a graduate of Cornell and Stanford University. She currently lives in Seattle with her husband and 2 daughters. Asha has taught in public and private elementary schools for almost 20 years. A graduate of UC Berkeley, she lives with her husband and 2 sons in Seattle. Welcome, Asha and Alli. Thanks for coming on Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books.
Absolutely. We're happy to be here.
Thank you so much for having us.
No, it's such a treat. I was telling you before I found your book, Tiny Imperfections, to be completely hilarious and great and just perfect, like pitch perfect. So it was really a really fun read. I'm happy to be talking to you.
Oh, we're so glad you like it. We find ourselves thinking of moments and referring to moments in the book and cracking ourselves up still. So we're glad you like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do still. I mean, for a long time when we were writing it, we were hilarious to ourselves in Starbucks over and over. And I think the baristas were like, who are those crazy ladies for a good solid year? Just laughing themselves silly in the corner. And it's kind of nice that now, a year and a half later, when we're now working on other things, we're still thinking back to what we wrote and we still find it humorous. So it's good that we hope everyone finds it humorous.
If you don't find it funny, chances are other people won't find it funny, right?
That's true.
My husband, he's co-writing a TV show pilot, whatever. And he and his friend are on the phone just hysterically laughing. Yeah. He's like, I'm working. I'm like, you are not working. That is not work. You cannot be having this much fun. But it sounds like the two of you have that same thing.
Yes.
It's true. We start some of our work session, every work session, just checking in and about family, things like that. But inevitably end up laughing a whole lot before we even get down to it. So
let's back up. What is Tiny Imperfections about? Please tell listeners.
Tiny Imperfections is an intergenerational mother-daughter story. It's set against the cutthroat admissions season of San Francisco's most prestigious private school. And the book addresses race and single parenting and dating at 40. And it's the perfect read to give to somebody. Comes out right before Mother's Day on May 5th. And it's great if you want to give the gift of laughter to someone in your life. And we hope they laugh their faces off. I always say that because that's what happens to me. My cheeks start to hurt from laughing at a really good book. Kick your heels up and read this one.
Yeah, and we think it's a unique lens in looking at a school and looking at a private school because the intergenerational part is Aunt Viv, who's been the head cook at the school for 50 years, and then her niece Josie, who she raised, who is an alumnus of the school and has returned and is the director of admissions at the school, and then Josie's daughter Etta, who is now a senior at the school. So it's 50 years of these 3 women who are Black, who have lived through different generations in this very privileged, rarefied world. And it, through humor, looks at what similarities they share with the community of which they've invested themselves professionally and educationally, but also how they're different. And that it is all about love with the family, but it's also love of the school community. For us, we've both been educators for over 20 years, and we love schools so very much. So in a way, for us, this is our love letter to schools and our love letter to school communities, because no other company is full of humans for whom the product is actually humans. And when you have that, it's just a whole lot of messiness, but a whole lot of love. And that's really why we wanted to write this.
Do you think your schools are receiving this letter with a sense of humor?
We hope so. And we hope that everybody remembers that it's fiction. And because we've had so many decades in not only public and private schools, but just organizations that work with children. I've worked in before and after school programs, different ways to serve kids. And this is a culmination of our experiences, even the characters themselves. I have an Aunt Viv, but this is not necessarily just her. It's a culmination of a lot of Black women in my life that have had an impact on me, that have taught me to be a woman, taught me to be a kind person going through the world, and putting all those characteristics together to make somebody that hopefully looks like someone we all need in our lives. And the same is true for the people that work in the school in this story. They're all, we have thousands of stories about kids, parents, staff, administrators, and we couldn't get them all just in one book, but we certainly hope we got a little bit of flavor from a bunch of people we've met over the years into this one.
And I love you keep saying you hope there's more to come for all these characters. So I feel like you have a vision of this whole series of what's happening, right? It's already in the works. Yeah,
we do have a vision. Yeah,
we love our ladies.
We do.
We love our borderline ladies.
And there's so much to explore in terms of what a school environment is as well. The characters that have come in and out of our lives. We've been part of hundreds of families. Being a teacher, it feels that way. So the stories you can bring out just of your own family list are there in the thousands. When you're part of that many families, there's just so many to choose from.
Especially when each year it changes.
Yes.
Like, that's great. You'll never run out of content, right? It's like
There's a new
it's like one of the only industries, really, where you can reliably know that all the people in your life will change every single year, right?
Yes.
Crazy.
Well,
really.
and just like Josie said in the book, she's been working in Fairchild Country Day for 13, 14 years, and there's still things in her year. She's like, well, never saw that one again.
Yeah.
And that is the beauty of working with families. It is also the amazing thing about working with kids, because it's a constant state of surprise. And that's, well, I don't want to speak for you, Asha, but
yes,
I think that's why I always loved working in schools, because every day was different. There's nothing that's on repeat. And even on a day where you think, oh, I'm getting up, I'm putting my pants on the same way to go to the same place to work, 15 minutes in, something surprises you. And that's, again, that's part of our love letter to schools and why we've always loved schools. But I do want to say that we want to make clear, because people do always ask, that there aren't any stories in our book that are like, oh, remember the time that blah, blah, blah happened. Like, we took bits and pieces of so many parts of our lives and the multitude of schools we've been in, and we created this book. But, our characters are fiction, and we love them for exactly that, because we got to make them up.
So you are not Josie and Lo. You did not meet in Zumba class. I'm kidding.
We did not meet in Zumba class.
I know you don't resemble those characters. No. I don't know you that well, but I'm thinking you.
Yeah,
for sure. One of you.
We actually met in doing admissions. I did admissions for a dozen years at the same school, where Alli then came on board as my assistant head of school. And we were on the same admissions team. And my classroom was below Alli's office and the administrative offices. And we'd often meet in the kitchen and passing and on our way to somewhere, an admissions detail we had to forgot, and say, gosh, did you see that one kid? Oh man, he was so hilarious. Did you see what he said? Oh
my God, did you see that massive booger? He was trying to get up in the middle of his nose the whole time he was trying to do math at the same time.
Yes. 4 of them had to go potty all at once. What was that? We found ourselves laughing about the kids, loving the kids we met, hopefully laughing with and at the parents we met and their nervousness, because we've been there before, sympathizing with them as well. But we also have the same sense of humor.
Yeah.
And we can see those tiny imperfections that are in our students and appreciate them instead of focusing only on how to fix them. And we found a bond over that.
Yeah. I think the similar sense of humor is really what ultimately, because that was years before we ended up writing this book together, but the similar sense of humor connected us once it was out of admission seasons, and then it was maybe over the summer, or then we went on to do other things at different places with different schools. But we always stayed connected when some story came up, and we wanted to share with the other person, because when you're laughing at something, you want to connect with the person will find it funny too. And so that just always kept each of us in like our minds and hearts, as then we end up here with a book that we've actually written. Which
when you were joking with each other in the back of your head, where you're like, "This is going in our book."
Oh my! You have to say that like all the time in your kitchen. What we used to say.
All the time. I mean, I wouldn't just tell Alli, but I'd go around going, "Oh my gosh, this is going in my book someday." Or to another teacher, "I know you have a good story about, that one kid. That one's got to go in my book, so don't forget it." I really consider myself a storyteller who writes. Mm-hmm. It's one of the talents of mine that I've enjoyed cultivating by working with small children, reading aloud to them and trying to convince them to continue to hold on to books their entire lives, including being read to. Mm-hmm. And I managed to do it with my own up until, at least middle school. But cultivating readers was one of my favorite parts of my job.
And tell me about how you brought your own sort of backgrounds and family experiences into it. Tell me about your dad who went to the same school.
Yes.
Tell me about that and how you used that experience as fiction.
Well, my dad, T.J. Vassar, who in December, I believe, 2012, was honored by President Obama he was gifted with basketball at a fundraising dinner when he was on a stop in Seattle, Washington. And my dad was so surprised. He came out of a room and said, "Hey, is that TJ?" And my dad thought, "Oh, this is it. They found me out. The FBI knows about whatever that thing was."
Way up here in the Great White North of Seattle, Washington.
They got me. But when the Secret Service tossed a ball to the president and he presented it to my dad and it said, "TJ, lucky to have you on my team."
Oh, my gosh.
Barack Obama. One of the greatest gifts in his life before he passed was receiving that ball. Because I remember growing up, him telling me that he didn't really think there would be a Black president in his life, mm-hmm. but he was sure there would be one in my life. So for him to be able to see that was a great gift. And then to go on to meet the president was amazing. But yeah, he was the first African-American graduate of Lakeside School in Seattle, Washington. I'm the first second generation. My son is now the first third generation Black to graduate from Lakeside School. And it was one of many firsts for my dad. He went from clean-cut, preppy schoolboy to afroed out protester in the span of 1 year, going to Harvard from Lakeside, and convinced the school, as through protest and demands, to create an Afro-American Studies program. Huh. And he was among the first graduates of that program to receive a degree from Harvard in Afro-American Studies. He went on to be the first Commissioner of African-American Affairs for the state of Washington, the youngest and first Black president of the Seattle Public School Board. Just so many things that he was the first at. He gave me the courage to be a pioneer, to be open to talking to people about new and difficult things, to approach issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion with no judgment, mm-hmm. and with an open heart. Those are some of the biggest lessons I've learned from him. And education is a place where you can practice those skills all the time. And they are skills to practice for all of us.
Did he get to read the book?
He did not get to read the book. So I can tell you that right now he would be my biggest fan. After my mom, she might be number one, but he would be my biggest cheerleader. Definitely seeing me become a writer would have been his life stream.
Do you feel like those were big shoes to fill?
Oh, for sure. Yes. And he had big shoes to fill because he went on to become an administrator at Lakeside. And the people and the things and the lessons that he touched and passed on through his life and work there, they had big shoes to fill after him, but they're doing it. Mm-hmm. Because they had the courage to step into those shoes and give it a shot. So yeah, I think writing about race, being willing to talk to Alli and share this book and where race is a factor in the story takes some courage. You have to be ready for someone's criticism that may not enjoy this type of duo or agree with what our story is. Mm-hmm. But I know it's a genuine one, and I know that we both approach it with the most positive of intentions and the hope to learn something or to teach something in our encounters. We connect with people through it.
I mean, it's so crazy that people could object to two people. I mean, isn't that the whole point? Is that like it's not supposed to be about what we look like or where we're from, and that it's supposed to be about things like our shared sense of humor and humanity. That like I don't know. I feel like I don't want to get off on this. But I just feel like people have so overcorrected in the wrong way, and to be critical of something just so simple and elemental to human nature. Anyway,
yeah,
I
think
I think it's great. I think like it's great, but it would be great no matter what races you were. As long as you have the same writing style and the same. I don't know.
I think you share it in your heart.
Yes, of course. It's not about. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
We're singing to the choir. We know. Okay. We know it.
Yeah. I will get off of that whole thing then. The funny thing about this book, first of all, the admissions part itself, which is hilarious, but not the whole book, right? It's not a whole book about it. It's a really kind of delicate relationship story as well. And I really appreciated that. But the admission stuff was so funny, especially in the beginning with the rescheduling and all of that stuff. And I was at dinner last night with some friends who have someone applying to kindergarten. And actually my son, my littlest guy, is going to kindergarten. Anyway, at the time, you feel like it's so important. Like with my big kids, where your kid goes to school feels like the biggest deal ever, that you're determining what's going to happen with their entire lives and livelihood and your everything. It's like the most pressure ever. And like my kids have all changed schools. Like it's not that, like you can always change your mind. And I feel like that's one of the things I've learned. I don't know about the two of you, but like as I've gotten older, it's like, especially with the school thing, all that pressure, it's like you can change schools if it's not right. It's like not that big a deal.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
absolutely. As a person that's gone to both public and private schools, my parents gave me the privilege. I had great parents who encouraged me to go where it was best for me. Mm-hmm. They had 3 kids. Each of us went to different schools. They helped us choose the place that was good for ourselves. Mm-hmm. Of course, they were in charge, and they helped us. They made those decisions. Some of them you have to pay for. Some of them are too far for the family. It doesn't work for everyone. But you have to parent and teach the child that's in front of you, and not the one you imagine that they may be someday.
Yep. So
it's
true.
so much more important to find a place where they're happy right now, where they feel successful right now, because that's the bigger impact on their future.
And I think to that, the parents lose the idea at these really pivotal moments, whether it's going into kindergarten or it's going into high school or it's applying to college or, it's the first heartbreak or whatnot, that parenting and life is fluid, and that if something's going well, something else is dropping off the cliff. And now have this undue pressure on children that everything has to be an uphill trajectory, that we're going to get you into potentially the perfect school for you. And then from that moment forward, it is going to be, your math takes off and your reading takes off and your social life takes off and your sports take off. And that's so much pressure on a child when every human in the world, life does not work like that. Right now, Asha and I are having a great time focusing on, talking about tiny imperfections and working on other things. But at home, my house is falling apart. Things are breaking down. The state of dinner time is not pretty. And, so I have professionally, it's going on great, but at home, it's a little raggedy. But we don't allow that for children anymore. And that is an unfair pressure to put on a child, an unfair pressure to put on schools. And so the need to be fluid and to see, this might be the right school for now. It might be the right school for 3 years, for 10 years, who knows? But that the idea that, we're going to get them in the right kindergarten and then it's going to be good for the next 12 years is just, it's a fallacy. It's not really reality.
Chris, I wonder if I was listening to this conversation back when I didn't have any kids in school, if I'd be like, easy for you to say, you already have all your kids in school. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
Right. Because it's easier with our point of view now, but I don't know.
I guess I can hear my dad saying in the back of my mind, well, every kid is in school. There's a local public school somewhere near you. Mm-hmm. No one is going to be left out of kindergarten.
Yeah.
And in every school, there will be teachers that love your child at every school.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I also really enjoyed the part about Golden Boy in your book. And actually, I've been working on this novel myself for a long time called 40 Love, about falling in love again at 40 because I'm divorced and remarried. And I had called the main guy Golden Boy in my book. Funny. So when I read yours, I literally went into my manuscript and I was like, find replace for all of the Golden Boy. I'm just going to call him by his actual name that I had already given him. And so I was thinking of you as I went through that. But it was also really interesting, that whole, I don't want to give anything away, so maybe we shouldn't talk about it, but that whole...
Can I jump here?
Yes.
So that was really humorous and interesting trajectory, us writing about the romance or the relationship part of Josie for two reasons. One is that we did really want the book to focus on a woman profession first, romance second. So many, even in this time where women are out doing incredible things, so many of the lighter reads or women's fiction or rom-com lead with the romance, and then who she is after that is secondary. And so it was super important for us to lead with her professional success and her ability to get herself where she is on her own. But then when we turned it into our editor and she gave us great feedback and we needed to puff up the romance part, then, Asha married her boyfriend from freshman year in college, and I got married later, but now I've been married for a while. And we had a lot of struggles, like, okay, what was it like at the beginning of a relationship when, the sexy thing wasn't unloading the dishwasher. The sexy thing was actually something sexy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so, one of my greatest memories is we had to redo this one scene.
The kissing scene.
The kissing scene. And we were actually sitting on bed in a hotel room together eating tortilla chips. We're like, okay, so what was it like? Let's think back to those heated times. So it was very humorous, us trying to get back in that headspace of that initial desire and want for love, because we are a couple of
two old married ladies? Is that what you want to say?
Kind of, yeah. Pretty much. So it was fun and it was hilarious, actually, to do that part.
Gosh. So aside from wanting to turn this into a multi-book series, what's coming next for you guys? You have the tour. Tell me what's on the horizon.
Well, we just finished a visit with the American Library Association conference in Philadelphia, which was great. We were on a panel of debut authors there, and so warmly welcomed by all the staff at that conference. And we're always writing. We're working on book 2, we hope, and we have an idea for where the Bordelon family is going. But we also have a secondary story that we have in mind, completely away from the Bordelones. Maybe they might kiss each other. The stories may meld just a little bit somewhere along the way.
Like when one of the characters comes on a sitcom, Silver Spoons, and then
and then they have a spinoff, something like that. Yes, but I think that our goal is to continue to write this type of book. It's something that we both love to read, and most advice we've gotten, when you hear about becoming a writer, is write what you like, and we have enjoyed writing this style and this type of story so much. I think we'll return to it.
And I would add
it.
We can share our good stuff. So
sure. Share the good stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I know it.
So we have been optioned for TV film, which
Very
is great.
exciting.
That was super exciting. But so we have a lot of exciting stuff on the writing front and with hopefully television and film. But for us, and you had hinted to this earlier, we really want to be able to go out and talk to people about how to be in conversation with someone who may look different than you, but when you have really real conversations and you do something hard together, like write a book, you find your commonalities, you find the humanity in one another, and that, unfortunately, it does feel like we're in a time and a space in our country where we're saying we all need to understand and know each other better. But the minute you do something inelegant, but from a good place, you're slapped so hard that who wants to go out there and then ever connect again? And so in this era of like, we all need to connect, we're actually being polarized back into our own very similar communities because our hands get slapped too fast. And Asha and I really want to be able to go out and talk to people about how to do hard work together. We've both had super inelegant moments with each other, down to when this idea for this book actually came to me on a bus going to the airport in Boise, Idaho. I got to Boise and I get a little overly enthusiastic, and I called Asha right away because I finally had cell service, and I was like, oh my God, do you want to meet for coffee and talk about race and writing? And I'm like, I probably could have put that a little better. But it was an excitement to share an idea with my friend Asha, who is different and similar to me at the same time. And Asha was like, let's do it. And now, 20 months later, here we are. And, what a shame if I hadn't been so enthusiastic. What a shame if Asha hadn't been so open of heart. Then we wouldn't be here sitting talking to you. So I think in the grand scheme of like our writing our books, if there's anything with television and film, our greatest hope is to be able to share our experience together as co-authors and as professionals working together. I think at the end of the day, that would be the most fun for us.
Any advice to aspiring authors?
Oh, goodness. I would say read, read, read. I would say that to anybody. And then write it down. Just write everything. Figure out if you can put it together and share it with your friends. Share it with someone you trust. Be open to honest criticism and be ready for a lot of criticism. And know that it's okay. That's how we grow, is to figure out where our flaws are, either in ourselves or our writing or whatever else we do. But take those lessons as an opportunity for you to become that person you're looking to become. If no one criticizes your writing, it just tells you it's great. Well, wait till you put it out there. Because the public will tell you. So I would say write, just start to begin. I always wanted to write, and I wrote short stories, and I wrote for myself. And in the beginning, that satisfied the writing part of who I was, to write for myself. When Alli invited me on this project, I was like, gosh, this is my chance. I'm going to actually do it. Jumped in with both feet, gave it a shot.
Awesome.
And mine would be, we are definitely, the American culture is definitely a culture of, the salesman culture, like talk, 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 talk. And we don't always honor the observer of life. And I would say my advice is be an observer. Take 2 steps back off your own precipice, and wherever you are, when you're in conversation with other people, if you're at a gathering, if you're in a train station, there are just a ton of people around, just be an observer of life, because that will ultimately give you so much juice for your book. And it's also a beautiful way to walk through the world. So I would just say, don't be fearful of being the quieter person. Don't be fearful of the observant person, because it will just make your writing better.
I would say that one last thing is, my dad would say, connecting with people, and that's ultimately, as Alli was saying, our true goal. The one thing I watched him do with such grace and amazing ability is he would learn where a person was from, what their cultural background was, by asking them to self-identify. And then he would learn from them how to say hello in their language, how to compliment a woman in their language, and how to say something naughty in their language. And those 3 things make people laugh, make people listen, look at you, and offer an opportunity to connect. So get out there and meet people.
He sounds like a super special guy.
Oh, he definitely was.
I didn't get a chance to meet him.
I wish we would have loved him.
Everyone loves him.
I can tell. I can tell what you're
him.
saying.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and for your great book. So best of luck and everything.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Zibby.
much.
You've been listening to Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books with Zibby Owens. Please make sure to sign up for my newsletter at zibbyowens.com to get more updates about episodes like these and also lots of live events. thanks to our sponsor, Start Small, Think Big, helping communities thrive one entrepreneur at a time. You can shop all their businesses and support so many small businesses during this really difficult time due to the coronavirus. So please go check them out, startsmallthinkbig.org. You can follow me on Instagram at momsdon'thavetime-to-read-books. Thanks so much to Steve and Ryan at Texture Sound for the sound editing. And thank you to Morning Moon Productions for providing this fantastic intro and outro music. Thanks for listening. You could always email me at zibby@zibbyowens.com.